the prints come alive in person. I was struck online, but in person it's a whole different level.
This is a podcast about visual art at Auburn University. My name is Chris Malinsky, the Janet L. Nolan Director of Curatorial and Educational Affairs at the Jule Museum. Today we talk with our poet-in-residence, Nicole Sealey, about her exhibition, Lyric Birdscapes, which pairs work from our collection by John James Audubon with poems. The spring version of the exhibition includes 2 commissioned poems, new poems written by Danica Kelly and David Baker, and a series of poems written by graduate students in creative writing at Auburn. Over the next several episodes, we'll feature Nicole talking with David Baker and Danica Kelly, and then readings by the graduate students of their work. Here's Nicole Sealey talking about Lyric Birdscapes.
When choosing the poems to include in this exhibition, I think I was just mining my memory to think of those poems that I loved. And it became easy in a sense, difficult in another, difficult because there are so many bird poems that I love. But there are a handful that I come back to often. And the ones in the exhibition are those poems.
When you walk in the exhibition, you'll see poems on the wall paired with prints by John James Audubon. The poems are in direct conversation with Audubon, in some ways reframing, rethinking, or providing a different context for us to look at Audubon's work. As the title Lyric Birdscapes might indicate, the exhibition leans heavily on ideas of birds, poems about birds that reframe birds and their songs and their place in our life in a wide range of ways.
So the show, as we know, is called Lyric Birdscapes, and I include a poem by the poet John Murillo that includes an urban landscape. And so I wanted the prints and the poems to be in conversation with each other, to move through time, for the poems to provide a context for the prints and not just the other way around.
John Murillo's poem is titled Upon Reading That Eric Dolphy Transcribed Even the Calls of Certain Species of Birds. And it's one of the longer poems in the exhibition, stretching over 2 walls. The walls have been painted in a lush green, and the minimal text sits almost like a conceptual work directly on the wall. For the installation opening in January, Nicole paired the poem with Audubon's print of the white-throated sparrow, a delicate image with 2 sparrows resting on a branch. Murillo's poem starts, I think first of 2 sparrows I met when walking home.
I wanted the prints to live in 2025 with all that means. And so it was important for me to choose poems that are older and poems that are contemporary. Yeah. So we can see that the prints are, the realism in the prints are as beautiful and as relatable today as they were back in the day, right? And I think the same is true for the poems that we've selected for this exhibition. I think these poems, too, will stand the test of time. There is nothing new in this art that we do. From that long ago, people have looked at birds for song, for inspiration, and that goes, that's across the arts, right? Poetry and, in Audubon's case, these prints.
Over the past few months, Nicole Sealey worked with us as a poet-in-residence, looking carefully at the Audubon work in our collection, selecting the work for the exhibition, and working with our team to design a layout that brought the poems into direct conversation with the prints?
It was fun to go through. There's so many prints, and they're so beautiful, so different one from the other as well. I would find a word in the poems that corresponded with a print. Whatever, if there was a specific bird featured in the poem, then I would comb through the collection and look for a similar bird. And if there were several examples of the same bird, I would think about the poem and the activity in the poem and how the bird is moving through the poem, if it is moving through the poem, and see whether the print corresponds with said movement. Yeah. So just trying to pair as best as possible the happenings in the poem with the happenings on the print. The prints come alive in person. I was struck online, but in person it's a whole different level. The colors are still vibrant and reflects the movement of the birds on the page.
Over the next few episodes, Nicole will talk with Danica Kelly and David Baker about their poems commissioned for the exhibition, followed by recordings by graduate students in creative writing at Auburn, who each wrote poems in response to the exhibition. All of our programs, including this podcast, are made possible by listeners like you. Visit jcsm.auburn.edu to show your support. Thanks.